Welcome to Weekly Wisdom. I am going to talk to you today from the book of Numbers. The book of Numbers, the 13th chapter. The 26th through about the 33rd verse is what I want to deal with in our time together. And where we are, just a little context, this is where the 12 spies that Moses sent out to spy out the promised land of Canaan, they were sent out to explore the promised land, and they returned back after 40 days of observing what was present within their promise, what was challenging, what was intimidating, what all they would have to deal with in order to walk and live within the promise that God had given them. And after 40 days of exploration of the land, they now had come back to report to Moses and to the people of Israel what they had observed in their time looking at what God had promised them. And so we pick up in the 26th verse about the second half, the B clause of that verse. It says, they reported to the whole community what they had seen and showed them the fruit they had taken from the land. This was their report to Moses. We entered the land you sent us to explore, and it is indeed a bountiful country, a land flowing with milk and honey. Here is the kind of fruit it produces. But the people living there are powerful, and their towns are large and fortified. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. The Amalekites live in the Negev, and the Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites live in the hill country. The Canaanites live along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea and along the Jordan Valley. Verse 30, but Caleb tried to quiet the people as they stood before Moses. Let's go at once to take the land. Let's go at once to take the land, he said. We can certainly conquer it. But the other men who had explored the land with him disagreed. We can't go up against them. They are stronger than we are. So they spread this bad report about the land among the Israelites. The land we traveled through and explored will devour anyone who goes to live there. All the people we saw were huge. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. Next to them, we felt like grasshoppers, and that's what they thought too. I want to talk just for a few minutes to you today about threats, insecurities, and intimidation. Threats, insecurities, and intimidation. As we see this text, we see that the majority of those who have been sent out on this mission to take a look at what had been promised to the people of Israel balked or hesitated at the notion of going in after what had been promised to them because of the obstacles that inhabited the promise that was deeded and belonged to them. Although they saw the beauty and the magnificent nature of this promise, they saw how good it was to even be able to think about the possibility of having and holding and tangibly captivating and being in the midst of what had been promised to them. They even had tangible evidence. They had a cluster of grapes that was bigger than any cluster of grapes they had ever seen before. The Bible says that it took two men to carry this cluster of grapes on a pole. It was so bountiful. The land was so amazing. It was a land that flowed with milk and honey. This is interesting because I think that this becomes kind of common with all the things that God promises. If you think about it, anything that God has ever promised you, whether in his word or something that you've just felt on the inside, like I really think that God wants me to do this or to have this or to be this or that or the other. It always comes, it's a dual relationship. It's always something that would be amazing to behold, something that would be just incredible to be able to say that it's yours, or that you've accomplished, or that it's a part of what your life experience is. But it doesn't just come with the good. It also comes with this incredibly challenging prospect of what it would take to actually have and hold it. So it also comes with this what seems to be overwhelming and impossible responsibility. And I need you to understand that the promises that God has for your life are amazing if you can get to them. But they do require a level of faith, a level of work, a level of stewardship that feels overwhelming, feels impossible, and we tend in our human frame and minds to feel that we are inadequate and incapable of living up to what it requires for us to be able to function within such a context, or with such a promise, or with such a reward. And the fact of the matter is that it probably is too much for us. What God has in his mind for you to do, for you to accomplish, for you to solve, it's probably bigger than you. If it were not bigger than you, if it were not impossible at first glance, if it were not something that would absolutely be intimidating, then it really would not be a miracle. I want you to really just think about that today. These things that we know it's ours, it's what we're called to do. It is something that is so absolutely overwhelming that the notion of it can begin to make us shake in our boots. The notion of what we are called to do, when we really get a lens on it, when we really can see the vision and the magnitude of what it is absolutely too much for any of us to do in our own strength. But that's the good news that Caleb understood in this text. The assignment that was before him was not about him. Oh my goodness. The assignment that is for you is not for you alone. It is not for your strength to be able to be adequate enough to lift. It does not require, oh my goodness, I feel it pretty good today. It does not require for you to be capable. It does not require for you to be qualified. It does not require for you to be sufficient of yourself. That's where faith kicks in. And so we see here, they saw this report. They saw the promise. They saw the details of it. They saw how productive the land was. They saw how it could produce, how they would have an abundance if they were able to get in and inhabit this promised land that was assigned and promised even to their forefathers, to generations of forefathers that came before them. They saw that it was what the scripture says, a bountiful country. It said it was indeed a bountiful country. It was good. It was good. And I'm here to tell you today that those things that have been stirring on the inside of you, those things that you feel compelled and called to do, I know that it feels too big for you. I know you feel too small for it, but it is good. It is right in the direction that you are supposed to be going. It is where you have been pointed to for all of these seasons of your life that you've been in, have been preparing you for this moment, for this season, for this time. Oh my goodness, everything that you've been doing up to here has been making you ready and prepared to be able to be a steward in what he is bringing you into. And it is big. It is intimidating. It does feel like we are not enough, but we're not required to do it of our own strength. Every promise of God comes with amazing possibilities combined, like there's this duality combined with overwhelming work that makes it against the odds for it to happen in our lives. This is what makes it miraculous. If it wasn't impossible, it wouldn't take a miracle. I wish somebody would type that. If it wasn't impossible, it would not require a miracle. All right, so most of these 12 spies are reporting like this is too big. It's beautiful, it's wonderful. I wish we could. And there are some things in your life that you like, I wish I could. I wish I could afford that. I wish I could accomplish that. I wish I could go back to school. I wish I could write a book. I wish I could start the business. I wish I could invest. And it feels like there is something standing in between you and your wish. But Caleb, look at that, verse 30. Verse 30. I love how it begins with that conjunction. And it says, but Caleb, the one sole spy who was later described as having a different spirit. He is the one who was able, out of all of these spies, he is the one that was able to go in and inhabit the land. But Caleb, Joshua and Caleb had another spirit. But Caleb tried to quiet the people as they stood before Moses. He tried to tell them, please stop being loud with your doubt and turn up the volume on your faith. Oh my goodness, turn down the volume of your doubt, turn up the volume of your faith. I hope you're catching that even with me right now. Turn down the volume of your doubt, turn up the volume of your faith. Do you believe that those good things that you have desired in you, that you are able, that it is okay, that, oh my goodness, that you can have a good experience, that you can have good relationships, that you can have a good career? Do you believe that you can, you can? If it wasn't impossible, it would not require a miracle. And so he says, he tried his best to quiet them. And he said this, he said, let's go at once to take the land. Let's stop hesitating. Let's stop. Who am I talking to today? Let's stop hesitating. Do you hear me today? Come on, I'm talking to you right there. I'm done reading right now. I'm talking directly to you. Let's stop hesitating. I've told you many times, hesitation is the enemy of initiation. It is our doubt. It is our pause and stop and consider that keeps us from going after these things that appear to be bigger than us, that appear to be too much for us to be able to handle, too much for us to hold. Let's go at once. Stop giving time to pause. Stop giving time to talk yourself out of it. Let's go at once to take the land, to tangibly grab what God has said is ours. I already have the deed because he already promised it to me. I hope you hear me today. Let's go at once to take the land. And then he said, we can certainly conquer it. I wish you would type that because I want that to be your declaration of faith and I want us to touch and agree on it. We can certainly conquer it. Whatever it is that you've been feeling like you can't do, that degree, that assignment, that business, that application, that resume, that repaired relationship, that living better in your next season that is to come than you have in your previous seasons that have passed, that seeing the world from a perspective of faith rather than a perspective of fear. Look, I need you to understand we can certainly conquer it. That problem that stands before you that seems bigger than it's possible to be solved, that problem that the world has tried and tried to solve, but they haven't had your lens, they haven't had your experience, they haven't had your faith. We can certainly conquer it. Oh my goodness. Come on, type it. Whether you're watching live or watching on the rebroadcast, we can certainly conquer it. But verse 31, the other men began to say things that were drowning out Caleb's faith. It says, but the other men who had explored the land with him disagreed. You do not want to be in the group that disagrees with faith. I feel all right today. Sometimes I just got to stop so I can let it sink into me, let it sink into you. You do not want to be in the group that disagrees with faith. So I don't care if everybody is telling you it can't be done. I don't care if everybody is telling you that is a very difficult goal to accomplish. I don't care if everyone is telling you that you don't have the resources, you don't have the education, you don't have the intellect, you don't have the temperament, you don't have the patience. Whatever they're telling you you don't have, do not begin to join with the chorus of those who lack faith. You do not want to be in the group that is disagreeing with faith. You instead want to be in the group that agrees with the possibilities of the promises of God. Okay. So Caleb tried to quiet them, but the other men who had explored the land with him disagreed. They began to speak the opposite. We can't go up against them. Have you seen those jokers? They big, they strong. They have a fortified city. They're protected. They know how to fight. They know how to war. They know how to do it. Yeah, oh my goodness. And what they did is they began to praise their enemy and doubt their God. But the other men who had explored the land with him disagreed. We can't go up against them. They are stronger than we are. They began to minimize what they were and maximized what their enemies were. They began to see themselves as weak and to see others as strong. They began to see from the perspective of their enemies rather than the perspective of their God. They said they are stronger than we are. So they spread this bad report about the land among the whole nation of Israelites. The land we traveled through and explored. Now, before they were telling us that it was bountiful, but now they've changed the narrative because they are standing in disagreement of faith. And now this land that they before described as bountiful, that they showed the fruit of the land as being abundant, as being plenteous. Now they are saying the land we traveled through and explored will devour anyone who goes to live there. Well, let me ask you, if that is the case, then why is it that the Amalekites, that the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, and the Canaanites all seem to be alive when they went to explore? If it will devour whoever inhabits it, why are my enemies able to do it? And I'm here to ask you a question today. What is it about your haters and your enemies that allows them to have more than you have? What is it about them that allows them to flourish and to seemingly thrive in situations that you feel like you're unqualified for and incapable of grasping? What is it that makes you less than? And I want to submit to you that the only thing that is making you less than is your fear, your insecurities, your doubt, and the intimidation of the enemy that has come to convince you that you are not enough. If you can begin to wipe that out, then you can have the same thing that they have. Matter of fact, you can have more. All right. And so the other men who had explored the land, they disagreed. They said, we can't go up against them. They're stronger than we are. So they spread this bad report among the land of the Israelites. The land we traveled through and explored will devour anyone who goes to live there. Now they're lying. They're exaggerating. All the people we saw were huge. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. Next to them, and here we go. Next to them, we felt like grasshoppers, and that's what they thought too. Threats, insecurities, and intimidation. Don't be intimidated when you have the promises of God on your side. Intimidation induces inaction. Intimidation induces inaction. It begins to lull you in to a paralysis of your efforts, a paralysis of your energy, a paralysis of your work. Intimidation makes you say, I'm not even going to try. To intimidate, the definition is to make timid or fearful. Intimidation is to make you timid. It's, oh my goodness, it's things that are designed to make you feel like you aren't enough. And the enemy, and not only the enemy, we ourselves constantly rehearse narratives to ourselves that tell us that we are not enough. They make us timid, they make us fearful, they make us frightened, and it says, especially to compel or to deter by or as if by threats. So we are threatened. We are typically threatened when our minds begin to believe that something negative will come if we take a certain action. Most of the time, the hope of a threat is that we would avoid a certain action. If I come threaten you and say, you know what, you better not do that, or else I'm going to jack you up. I am trying to convince you not to take a certain action that I know you have the ability and the capability to take, an action that you probably would take without the threat being thrown at you. You have the ability, but the enemy tries, and we ourselves try to talk ourselves out of our capabilities because we begin to believe the threats, and we become intimidated. We become engrossed with timidity and fear that self checks us and stops us from even attempting to try what we really do have the capability to achieve. Ah, my goodness. All right, I can't do too much, but I do got to tell you, 2 Timothy 1:7 says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and a sound mind. A threat is an offer of avoidance of an executed contract in exchange of an avoidance of the execution of a certain action. It's really silly. Like, a threat is really riddled with anxiety. So what happens is someone gets anxious about the fact that you might do something. And so because they are walking in anxiety, they try to push that anxiety onto you by coming to you and telling you, if you do that, you're going to fail. If you do that, I'm going to hurt you. If you do that, I'm not going to be your friend, and I'm not going to be on your side. And so they try to convey the anxiety that they're feeling. They try to put it on you so that you now begin to walk in such an anxiety that you don't even do what both they know and others know you do have the capability of doing and accomplishing. So they have now given their anxiety to you, and now it is causing you to not take action toward what they know you could be taking action to do. But God has not given us a spirit of fear or timidity, but of power and love and a sound mind. So if the enemy is nervous that you might accomplish something, he works to make you nervous about accomplishing it. He makes you begin to feel like, well, if you try that, it might not work and you might be humiliated. He begins to talk you out of it, and you begin to repeat the narrative from your own insecurities and from the messaging of the enemy that tries to convince you that you're incapable, that you're inadequate, and that it won't work. But Caleb had another spirit. But Caleb, I'm going back and I'm done. But Caleb, in verse 30, tried to quiet the people as they stood before Moses. And he had a mentality that I hope we develop today. Let's go at once to take the land. You don't have time to wait. You don't have time to go back and forth with your thoughts, to deliberate, to talk yourself out of it. He said, let's go at once to take the land. We can certainly conquer it. So today, the first thing that I challenge you to conquer is your insecurities, your fear, your timidity, those threats and the intimidation that you've been feeling. And I dare you, I challenge you, go after it at once. You are well able. You can surely have that promise. That's what I got for you today. I hope you got something out of it. Have a phenomenal week. Love y'all.